I want you to take a second and just picture your classic quintessential college experience,
Oh, boy.
right? Like think back to those massive soul-crushing lines outside the financial aid office.
Yeah, standing there for hours.
Exactly. Or, remember trying to navigate a course catalog that looked like it was coded during the dial-up era?
Oh, absolutely. And dealing with those clunky campus web portals that inevitably crashed the exact moment you needed to register for, like a mandatory prerequisite.
Yes.
Hmm.
For a long time, we all just sort of accepted that this friction was, well, basically part of the tuition.
Right, it was almost a rite of passage.
You were being tested on your endurance before you even set foot in a lecture hall.
Historically, university leadership treated um, that administrative friction as an inescapable reality of higher education rather than, a system failure.
Because they just had these massive decentralized bureaucracies running on paper and legacy servers, right?
Exactly. So gridlock was just the natural byproduct of that environment.
But the reason we are diving into this today is that this era is rapidly coming to an end.
It really is.
Quietly and completely behind the scenes, there's this silent revolution rewiring the very DNA of higher education.
And it's happening so fast.
Right. We are tracking a massive shift where sprawling, gridlocked universities are transforming into hyper-efficient, proactive, AI-driven ecosystems.
Yeah, the acceleration between 2024 and 2026 alone fundamentally altered the landscape. We're looking at a complete architectural rebuild of how these institutions operate.
So our mission for this deep dive is to unpack exactly how and why this transformation is happening.
Sounds good.
And to do that, we're synthesizing a really diverse stack of sources for you today.
Yeah, it's a great stack.
We've got internal strategic IT delivery templates used by universities, deep dive competitive landscape reports on cloud and AI integration from 2024 to 2026, and this brilliant socio-technical analysis detailing how IT leadership is evolving.
Which is fascinating stuff.
It really is. We will be looking at ground-level case studies, too. Specifically, a public college in New Jersey and a highly prestigious military college in South Carolina, just to see how these theories actually survive contact with reality.
It's an invaluable stack of information because it forces us to look past the surface level hype of artificial intelligence.
Like the buzzwords.
Exactly. It bridges the gap between the deeply technical digital infrastructure and the incredibly complex human cultural elements of running a university.
Now, a quick ground rule before we get into the weeds here.
Good call.
Because we are focusing on the systemic, universal shifts happening across higher education, we will strictly be referring to the leadership involved by their titles.
Right, like the chief information officer, the provost, or the university president.
Exactly. You won't hear us drop specific names today because the blueprint of this change is what matters, regardless of who happens to be holding the office keys at any given institution.
Yeah, that approach keeps the focus on the structural mechanics, which is exactly where this conversation needs to start.
So let's get right into those mechanics. When you hear AI in education, your mind immediately goes to the flashy, consumer-facing stuff, right?
Yeah, sure. Algorithms predicting grades, virtual reality labs, autonomous tutors.
Yeah, all that sci-fi stuff. But jumping straight to the flashy tools ignores the central premise of our sources.
Right. You cannot just buy a cutting-edge AI, plug it into a university's network, and expect it to do anything useful.
No, you have to start with the digital plumbing.
The plumbing is everything. The analysis introduces a critical concept here called the stability paradox.
Okay, the stability paradox. Break that down for us.
So it essentially argues that the success of the most advanced futuristic artificial intelligence is entirely dependent on the absolute most boring foundational legacy systems an institution has.
That's so counterintuitive. What are those boring systems and why do they dictate whether the AI succeeds or fails?
Well, we're primarily talking about two things here. Identity and access management, often called IAM and enterprise resource planning, or ERP systems.
Okay.
Think of these as the central nervous system of a university. The ERP holds the financial data, the student records, the HR files,
Right.
and the IAM dictates exactly who is allowed to see what.
Got it. So if a university's foundational data is fractured across 20 different departments, sitting on localized physical servers in campus basements, an AI cannot function.
Exactly. It has no clean, unified data pool to learn from, and no secure, verified pathways to access it.
It sounds like trying to run a high-speed magnetic bullet train on 19th century wooden tracks.
That is a perfect visualization.
Right, like the physical infrastructure literally cannot support the velocity of the data.
No, it can't.
If you don't rebuild the underlying tracks, the cloud architecture, that AI engine is going to tear the whole system apart or it just won't run at all.
Yeah, and to build those new tracks, institutions are being forced to abandon their physical data centers and migrate to a hybrid cloud architecture.
And a hybrid cloud environment allows an institution to keep highly sensitive data secure on private infrastructure while leveraging massive public cloud computing power for heavy analytics, right?
Exactly. Let's look at the New Jersey Public College case study from the sources.
Oh, yeah, this is wild.
They had a legacy on-premises IT setup, and not only was it bleeding money in maintenance, but their primary data center and their backup data center were located just a few hundred yards apart on the same physical campus.
Wait, so if a localized physical disaster hits like a massive power grid failure, a flood, a targeted cyber attack, it takes out the main brain of the university and the backup simultaneously?
Yes.
That's terrifying.
It was a catastrophic vulnerability. So their IT leadership orchestrated a total migration to VMware Cloud on AWS.
Okay.
And what is remarkable here is the execution. They migrated the core system supporting 7,400 students in just 6 to 8 months.
I want to pause on the downtime metric here because it honestly blew my mind.
It's crazy, right?
They reported less than 15 minutes of actual downtime during the migration of their massive enterprise system.
Yeah.
How is that technically possible when you were moving thousands of student records and operational systems?
Well, it comes down to the mechanics of modern cloud migration. You don't just turn the old server off, copy the files over to the cloud, and turn it back on.
Right, that would take days.
Exactly. They use a continuous replication process. The IT team builds the entire new cloud environment in the background and constantly syncs the data.
Oh, I see.
It's essentially mirroring the legacy system in real time. That 15 minutes of downtime was literally just the final DNS switch.
Wow.
Yeah, the moment they told the network to stop pointing at the old physical server and start pointing at the new cloud environment, the users barely noticed a blink.
And the financial payoff is huge, too. I mean, they saved over $200,000 annually in hardware costs alone and dropped overall infrastructure spending by 26%.
Which is massive for a public college.
It is. But for you, the listener, the most impactful part of this New Jersey case study isn't the university's budget.
No.
It is how this invisible cloud plumbing fundamentally alters your daily experience as a student.
Absolutely.
They use this new cloud chassis to implement a work-from-anywhere philosophy. By setting up secure, bring-your-own-device environments, they radically shifted the equity equation.
Because prior to this cloud migration, access to computing power was a massive barrier.
Exactly. If you're an architecture student or a data science major, you needed to run incredibly heavy, processing-intensive software.
Yeah, rendering engines and all that.
Right. And if you couldn't afford the $3,000 high-end laptop, your only option was to physically commute to a campus computer lab.
Which is a huge problem if you have a part-time job or live off campus. You are at a severe disadvantage.
But with the cloud environment, all the heavy lifting happens on the university's servers, not on your local machine.
Exactly.
A student can log in from a $200 bare-bones Chromebook in their living room and run advanced 3D modeling software with zero lag.
The physical device becomes irrelevant because the cloud is doing the work.
It's incredible.
It really is. And once you have centralized the data, secured the access points, and digitized the student touch points in this way, the tracks are finally laid.
The stability paradox is solved.
Exactly. The institution is now ready for AI.
Okay, so the bullet train tracks are built and the AI engine is ready. But moving a massive centralized database to the cloud and forcing every individual department to comply sounds like an absolute political nightmare.
Oh, it's a massive headache.
Right. Like who actually has the authority to tell the chemistry department they have to give up their private server and integrate with the rest of the school?
That brings us to the profound shift in university power dynamics. Historically, the chief information officer, the CIO, was viewed by academia as the chief mechanic.
Yeah, they were the utility managers.
Right. You called them when the Wi-Fi dropped in the library or when the faculty printers jammed.
But the strategic analysis we are looking at highlights that the CIO is no longer managing a utility. They have evolved into a central strategic power broker.
Yes. And this leads to a massive aha moment regarding how these new power brokers manage artificial intelligence.
Okay, tell me about that.
So the sources measured something called governance maturity, which is basically how intentionally an institution controls its technology strategy.
Got it.
And they discovered a fascinating inverse relationship between governance maturity and AI tool sprawl.
It is entirely counterintuitive.
Very much so. You would assume that the most technologically elite, mature universities would be the ones boasting the highest number of cutting-edge AI tools across their campuses.
Right. I read that and immediately thought, wouldn't the school running 50 different specialized AI applications be the one leading the charge?
You'd think so?
How does stripping away software and having fewer tools make an institution more advanced?
It reveals the difference between intentional strategy and reactionary panic buying. Low-maturity schools suffer from chaotic sprawl. You have academic departments desperately wanting to appear innovative.
So everyone just buys their own thing.
Exactly. The admissions office buys an AI screening tool. The engineering department buys a different generative AI platform. Student affairs buys a chatbot.
And none of them talk to each other.
None of these vendors talk to each other. None of them integrate with that central cloud ERP system we just talked about. It is the illusion of progress, but in reality, it just creates more isolated data silos.
It's essentially digital hoarding.
Precisely. Institutions with high governance maturity have far fewer AI tools in use because their CIO acts as an absolute gatekeeper.
They demand quality and integration over quantity.
Yes. If an AI tool cannot securely hook into the central nervous system, it doesn't get bought. They control the sprawl.
So the true predictor of an institution's technological success isn't the specific software they buy, it is the organizational chart.
Right. The sources point out that you can predict the success or failure of a university's AI initiative almost entirely based on who the CIO reports to.
If the CIO reports directly to the university president or the provost, AI initiatives overwhelmingly succeed.
Yeah. But if the CIO reports to the chief financial officer or the chief operating officer, those exact same initiatives usually stall or fail entirely.
That makes total sense when you think about the underlying mandates.
So,
Well, if you report to the CFO, your IT department is fundamentally viewed as an operational cost center. Every conversation starts with, how do we make this cheaper?
absolutely.
But if you report to the president or the provost, the technology is viewed as a strategic capability.
Yes, the conversation changes.
The conversation becomes, how do we leverage this to increase graduation rates and achieve our core mission? It gives the CIO the authority to drive actual change.
And they need that authority because implementing AI across a university is no longer just an IT project. It is a massive organizational and cultural upheaval.
I keep picturing this like a cultural organ transplant.
Oh, I love that.
You can have a state-of-the-art AI system, a perfect, healthy organ.
Mm-hmm.
But if you just drop it into an institution without preparing the body, the institution's immune system, its faculty, its traditions, its identity, will simply reject it.
That analogy perfectly captures the friction detailed in our next case study.
Right, the military college?
Yeah, a
Where-
highly prestigious 180-year-old military college in South Carolina. Think about an institution deeply rooted in tradition, intense discipline, and a very specific hands-on pedagogical model.
Sure.
To them, sudden technological automation feels like a direct existential threat to their heritage.
You can easily imagine the faculty revolt, like we build character through rigorous human mentorship, not by letting an algorithm flag when a cadet misses a homework assignment.
Which is exactly why the IT leadership at that military college couldn't just mandate the software.
They had to navigate it carefully.
Very carefully. They had to navigate 3 distinct socio-technical pillars to make the AI adoption work: relationships, power, and institutional identity.
Okay, let's break those down.
The relationships pillar is essentially building social capital. The CIO had to build deep trust with the academic deans before rolling out predictive analytics, assuring them the tech was a support mechanism, not a replacement for their judgment.
Right, and the power pillar is where the CIO flexes that new authority we talked about.
Exactly.
They use the massive budget required for these cloud migrations as a lever. If a department wants access to the new lightning-fast cloud infrastructure, they are forced to surrender their isolated data silos. The CIO controls the digital real estate.
But the most delicate work happens in the 3rd pillar, institutional identity.
because you can't just trample their history.
Exactly. The leadership had to surgically frame AI not as a disruption, but as a tool for mission fulfillment.
Oh, that's smart.
They didn't pitch predictive analytics as a way to automate advising. They framed it as an early warning radar system. It ensured that cadets were meeting the rigorous historic standards required to graduate. It protected the heritage instead of eroding it.
But framing it that way brings up a massive issue.
It does.
To power an early warning radar system, the AI has to consume an ocean of deeply personal student data.
Oh, absolutely.
Grades, financial status, behavioral flags. For you, the listener, how comfortable are you knowing a third-party algorithm is digesting your entire academic life?
Right. It's a huge concern.
The sources highlight a visual framework used by IT leadership to manage this, called the bubble slide.
The bubble slide is a brilliant conceptual tool used to illustrate the complexity of modern data governance.
What does it look like?
Picture 3 overlapping circles in a Venn diagram.
Okay.
One circle is legal compliance, what you are legally allowed to do with student data. The second is ethical stewardship, what you should do with it to protect the student.
Right.
And the third is technological security, what you are physically capable of protecting.
And the CIO has to sit directly in the center of those overlapping circles.
Exactly.
Because AI vendors are endlessly thirsty for training data, the CIO has to act as the institution's shield.
And they rely on standardized frameworks to do that, like the HEC-VAT assessment.
Okay, for those unfamiliar, HEC-VAT stands for the Higher Education Cloud Vendor Assessment Tool.
Yeah, it is essentially a brutal, comprehensive security interrogation that a vendor must pass to prove they won't leak or misuse student data.
Wow.
If a vendor fails the HEC-VAT, they don't get the contract, no matter how cool their AI is.
So we have mapped out the hidden cloud plumbing, the shifting political authority of the CIO, and the cultural tightrope of preserving institutional identity.
We covered a lot of ground.
We did, but we need to ground this. If you are a student stepping onto a campus in 2026, or if you are an administrator trying to guide them, what does this actually look like in your daily life?
This is where we cross the threshold from generative AI to agentic AI.
Okay, and that distinction is everything.
It really is. If you follow the tech space, you already know how generative AI works. You type a prompt, it generates text or an image.
It is reactive.
Right. But agentic AI possesses agency. It doesn't just draft an email. It has read and write access to the university's central database.
Oh, wow.
It can take initiative, adapt to shifting goals, and autonomously execute complex workflows across different departments without human prompting.
Let's visualize that. Because a traditional AI might help a student write a polite email to their advisor asking how to change their major.
Yeah, that's basic generative AI.
But an agentic AI system proactively scans that student's transcript, identifies that a required prerequisite class was just canceled, autonomously searches the course catalog for an alternative that fits the student's schedule, maps out a revised 4-year degree pathway, and presents the fully solved problem to the academic advisor for a single-click approval.
It is actively solving the puzzle in the background.
That's incredible.
And we are seeing the most dramatic impact of this in financial aid.
Going back to our intro about those notoriously awful lines.
Exactly. There is a platform highlighted in the deep dive called Regent Financial Aid. They used automated workflows to handle the incredibly tedious verification loops in financial packaging.
Right.
By letting the system autonomously match student data against federal requirements, they dropped processing times from 17 days to just 6 days.
That is a 65% reduction in wait time.
Yeah. For a student whose entire ability to enroll hinges on knowing if they can afford it, cutting that anxiety down from nearly 3 weeks to less than a week is profoundly life-changing.
And the predictive power of these systems pays massive dividends for the university's survival as well.
Oh, absolutely.
Indiana University of Pennsylvania utilized predictive scenario modeling to overhaul their retention strategies.
This is a really cool case study.
By feeding the AI thousands of micro data points like drops in learning management system logins or missed dining hall swipes, the system flags students who are quietly struggling long before they actually failed a class.
Yeah, that early detection is key.
That allowed the school to intervene early, resulting in an astonishing 90% fall-to-spring retention rate.
What's equally fascinating is how this proactive technology is being deployed to combat summer melt.
Ah, summer melt. That is the bane of every admissions office.
It really is.
These are the students who formally commit to a university in the spring, pay their deposit, but then just vanish. They never show up for the first day of class in
Yeah,
the fall.
yeah. And usually it's because they get completely overwhelmed by the bureaucratic maze. Housing forms, federal loan counseling, immunization uploads.
The friction just defeats them.
To solve this, universities aren't just sending mass emails anymore. They are deploying hyper-advanced, data-grounded AI chatbots.
Like the ones in the analysis.
Yeah.
Georgia State University's bot, Pounce, and Maryville University's bot, Max.
Exactly. These aren't generic customer service bots that just link you to an FAQ page.
Yeah.
They are tied directly into the student's actual CRM file.
So the bot knows exactly what the student's missing. It can text an 18-year-old and say, hey, I see you still need to upload your specific math placement score by Friday. Here is the exact link.
And it works. Georgia State used this proactive nudging and reduced their summer melt by 21.4%.
That's huge.
And overall, bots like Maryville's are successfully deflecting over 90% of routine questions without a human staff member ever needing to intervene.
Look, I'm listening to all of this, and I'll admit I'm starting to get a little uneasy.
How so?
We are talking about predictive algorithms monitoring when a student eats, autonomous agents routing their degree paths, and chatbots texting them to fill out paperwork.
Yeah.
Aren't we just stripping away the human mentorship that defines higher education? There is a real risk here that college just becomes a cold, frictionless, automated assembly line.
That is the most persistent and honestly valid fear surrounding this technology, but the data from these deployments suggests the exact opposite outcome. Yeah. The philosophy here is giving staff the gift of time. By automating the relentless administrative friction, you aren't replacing the humans. You are removing the robotic tasks from the human's plate.
Ah, I see. So the AI does the paperwork, so the human can actually do the mentoring.
Precisely. If a financial aid counselor isn't spending 60 hours a week manually cross-referencing FAFSA spreadsheets, they finally have the bandwidth to sit down face-to-face with a first-generation college student who is having a panic attack about taking out loans.
Right.
The machine handles the transaction, enabling the human to handle the connection.
And this automation isn't just trapped in the software either. It is bleeding into the physical campus itself.
The smart campuses.
Yeah. The sources briefly highlight the rise of smart campuses powered by digital twins. A leading polytechnic institute in Singapore built a living virtual replica of their entire physical campus.
This stuff is like science fiction.
They integrated over 600 Internet of Things sensors directly into the digital model.
Right, so they are tracking real-time data on energy flows, HVAC performance, room occupancy, and water pressure.
Yeah.
If a sensor detects a failing air conditioning unit in a lecture hall, the digital twin autonomously diagnoses the issue, checks the maintenance staff's schedule, and issues a work order before the room even gets warm.
And the operational efficiency is just staggering. They cut their facility response times from over 2 hours down to just 15 minutes.
Wow.
And they reduced their overall campus energy consumption by 32% year over year.
That is massive.
It really is. So let's pull all these threads together. We have mapped out a complete architectural revolution today.
We really did.
We started in the unseen digital plumbing, the hybrid cloud migration that solves the stability paradox. We explored how the CIO has evolved into a strategic power broker to govern this technology,
Right.
and how they navigate the delicate cultural immune system of an institution's identity. And finally, we looked at how agentic AI and digital twins are actively dismantling the administrative friction that used to define the student experience.
The overarching through line from every source we synthesized is clear. Technology in higher education is no longer a localized utility.
No, it's not.
It is the very foundation upon which student success, institutional resilience, and operational survival are built.
Which leaves us with a final, lingering thought to chew on. Something the strategic reports hint at, but don't fully answer.
Okay, let's hear it.
If this revolution succeeds, if agentic AI perfectly smooths out all the friction, if financial aid headaches, scheduling conflicts, and clunky portals are completely eliminated at every single university, what becomes the new competitive differentiator?
It's a profound question. If a flawless, automated operational experience becomes the baseline expectation everywhere, technology ceases to be an advantage.
Exactly. When the frictionless experience is just a commodity, does a university's value rely entirely on the unautomatable magic of pure human connection?
I think it has to.
And if so, how on earth do you measure that on a brochure? Next time you think back to those agonizing financial aid lines, remember, the line is disappearing. What fills that empty space is entirely up to us.